you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Mr. Panozzo, sir, welcome back.
Always good to be back.
Yeah, well, we can't be getting in any more trouble today, Mike. We gotta just chill because we came in hot
Why?
we came in hot for a little bit there, and we gotta just dial it back a little bit, man. You doing all right? You doing all right?
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's Halloween. I could come dressed as somebody else.
I know. I logged into my restream and I saw they had some like Halloween font, so that's why you noticed the
I
different.
saw the font of the names. It's very spooky.
Yeah. Listen, there was one thing. So like, this is parenting cheat codes here. So like, you can get away with missing some holidays sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, kids
Yeah,
don't know.
away with Halloween.
You ain't getting away with Halloween. Halloween's you got to get the whole neighborhood to buy in to doing it on a different day. So you cannot redo Halloween. So I had to make sure that I was back in time because if not, these little girls were not going to let me hear the end of it. So here I am. I just got back from Mexico. What's up?
What are the costumes? What are the costumes?
One of them's Wednesday. One of them is shit. I don't know. Wait till Halloween. I bought them, but I don't remember what the hell they were. It's been a couple weeks now. So I don't know, man. I have no idea. And you know what's brutal is that like before Halloween was just one day, right? Now it's like every weekend there's like some trunk or treat happening at this place or that place.
Yeah.
So it's being like a month-long gig, you know? So
next year you should dress Madeline up like Earl. Big wristband, a couple weights around her waist.
The yellow glasses.
Finger extension.
I think I got a broken cue around here too. I can give to her to walk around with. So, on the note of Earl, it's Mosconi Cup season as well, Mike. So, are we gonna have any Earl the Pearl announcements over the next coming days? So
I'll take any announcement. I'll take any announcement at this point.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's been a little quiet. But before we jump on into that, because there's a lot of topics to discuss today.
Yeah, there are.
Mike, I just got back from Mexico, but I saw on social media you were out there in New York for Mika's memorial, and I wanna ask you about that, how that went, who all was there, and what was the ceremony like?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was really nice. It was hosted by Amsterdam Billiard Club and Greg Hunt, who always does a great job and has always been so supportive of the top players. He always has them there working at the club. He always doing things for them. I hope the players appreciate how much Greg does for them to keep them, to pay them back. But Mika's mom flew in from Finland. Obviously, she was there, which was great. I think it was really helpful for her to see everybody there for Mika, so she knew she wasn't alone. There were a couple hundred people in there easily. He had about 10 or 12. He had 12 people and each one just like 3 minutes or so, but it was a really nice way to do it because you got different angles from all the different people. Some were really close friends of his. Some of them were, contemporary, players. Rodney was there. Earl was there. Jeanette was there. Tony Robles was there. So a lot of people like that spoke, and then some of his friends spoke, and his mother spoke, and it really it was really cathartic. It was really kind of healing, and they were all good stories, and they all had that central theme about how Mika just he lived life hard. Which he still died way too young, but he didn't leave anything on the table. He was a fun guy. He was a hard worker. He was philosophical. He was he got a lot out of his life, and you could tell it impacted a lot of people. So it was really a great weekend.
Yeah, when I was looking at the photos, obviously seeing the players was great, and seeing some figures within the industry. I saw Karim was there from Predator, amongst others. I knew Vincent was going over there because I met up with him,
Yeah, Vincent
whatever it
was
was.
there, Karim was there,
Um,
Jennifer Beretta
like
was there, Hunter Lombardo was there, a lot of people.
there was a face that I didn't recognize, and I was going to. It was his mom, and I just want to ask you, 'cause I didn't, obviously I've never met her before, but what was it like? What does she have to say, Mike? And how I know you mentioned when there was helpful
She,
for her.
yeah, I've met her a number of times. She's really a wonderful lady, very warm, very smart. Um, you know, a lot of style. Which is not. Mika was always a style guy.
Of
Uh,
course, you got it from somewhere,
yeah,
right?
yeah. She's yeah.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful lady, and she's lost two. Mika's twin, passed away at the beginning of the year. So it was. It's a mother losing two kids the same year. But I said she talked about how difficult it was flying over by herself because she usually was coming over to see new things or whatever, and this wasn't going to be the case. But I think when she got there, it was really helpful for her to see everybody there and see all the support and the love for Mika and the impact that he had on everybody. So I think that it was a really good thing for her.
Well, my thoughts are with her and with her family and everyone who was there and everyone who's still mourning loss of Mika. Gone far too young for sure. And it was last night when I was doing some work for a little bit in the evening, and I was like scrolling through some photos, and I was on the Matchroom uh, on their Facebook page, right, like looking through different events or whatever. And I came across the U.S. Open from this year, and then I see Mika, and then I realized, like, man, that was just this year. Like that
Yeah,
was just this year,
not
you
long, a
know?
couple months ago.
Yeah,
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 and
and he was still,
well, that's the way he was. I mean, he was. His whole thing was, I'm going to get up every day and do something. I'm not going to, wallow in this and hope that I'll go out and live every day the same. And he had, 2 weeks before he passed away, he had called Pat Fleming about securing spots in the International Open, and not only did he do that, he told Pat, he said, "Yeah, I want to play in the 9-ball and the straight ball and the one pocket."
that's so funny. He had no chill in him, did Mika?
No, he was like, "Listen, if I'm still upright on that day, I'm coming to play." He was.
Yeah, you gotta like admire his spirit and his fight and his perseverance, his
Yeah,
competitiveness among other things. And I can remember like just during that interview, whenever like news that came out, and he was talking about like how he was in Japan and he kind of had an idea of something, that it was something pretty serious. And then meanwhile, he's still busting through a tournament, like going 5-6 rounds deep or whatever it was, and like the same day he's getting news that's what he was out doing. And I'm just like, anybody else on the planet, like any normal person, would just like need a moment or whatever, you know what I mean, and
yeah,
just dial it back a little bit to like breathe and take it all in, but not
yeah,
not Mika. Like he wasn't an excuse guy. He was an ultimate competitor. He was admired. He was part of the reason why I fell in love with Paul, Mike. So
yeah.
I'm glad you got to go out there. So what are they going to do now? They're going to go and have another thing for him with the family back in Finland now. Is that how?
I imagine so. I think they're actually doing a full, service,
Yeah.
church service in New York in a week or so.
Okay.
So, I mean, his mother will still be around for a while, and then they'll go back to take his ashes back to Finland.
Well, like I said, our thoughts are with her and with her family, and but in true Mika fashion, Mike, we got to talk about Pool because Mika would want to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
talk about Pool. There's a lot of stuff going on. The Philippines Open just finished up. A lot of news coming out of there. A lot of surprises. A lot of not so surprises. Along with that, Mike, Qatar Open it started a couple days ago. Actually, it started like whatever it was, like 6 days ago through stage one.
yeah,
$100,000 for first, $1,000 buy-in. Mike, let's talk about the event for a minute.
yeah. I mean, they had. I'll give them credit. I mean, they had 4 qualifiers for 16 spots. And those qualifiers had 128 people in. So qualifier 1 had 128, four advanced to the final, to the main event 128. So 4 more people jumped in for the second qualifier. They said still at 120. They had 4 qualifiers for 16 spots, which was pretty cool. And then 128 in the final field. WPA tournament, so it was split up with WPA rankings for the top 32. European EPBF, I think, got 20 spots. There were some wild cards, all these types of things. So, put together a really amazing field, and it's been interesting to see it play out because there were a lot of early upsets. I mean, you had to win 2 matches. You have to win 2 matches to get to the final 128, and to the final 64, right? So it's amazing how many names, have lost once in their first, at least, some of them more than once. So, I was looking at a little list here. Loser side, Kazakis, SVB, Jason.
It's unreal, Mike. Fran, every like Fran, the who's who of
Jonas, Feder, Kachi, AJ. Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of big names on the loser side. Need to win one deep, more to get into it. Yeah.
I woke up this morning because my walls were shaking, and then I was wondering what was going on, and I guess it was the vibrations of the earth because the Philippines was just erupting once Kyle beat Kachi, So the Philippines was just, celebrating, long through. They're probably still celebrating right now, Mike. And so, and I love that. Like the Filipino fans, they troll on social media and get big chested like nobody else in sports, Mike. And the good thing is they can type English and speak English really well. So like it translates.
When they need
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know. They have my Facebook message thing. I'll take Kachi and it'll last longer from here.
For who? Against who? Against Kyle?
AJ. Against AJ.
Oh, against AJ?
Against Kyle.
Well, we're gonna talk about AJ here in a little bit, and even the Philippine Open in general. But let me bring up some of the matches here, Mike, that are going on. You mentioned some upsets. Asis Tadike, he's a known Filipino. He's been around for a while. He takes out and there's a lot of hill matches for that matter. He takes out Kazakis 9-8. Edwin Gamos, another strong Filipino player, takes out Elliot Sanderson 9-5. The captain of the Mosconi Cup gets dumped to the one-loss side via the rookie Moritz. I'm sure that's not going to go over so well in the locker room, son. So, well, you better hope you're making it on points next year after this showing.
That's right.
Stefan Kasper, another strong German player, gets through 9-0. Obviously, Jason losing to Moritz is great. Mike, let me ask you this, because when I look, the first thing that pops, well, actually, there's a couple things that come to mind when I see this bracket. One is how deep it is, right? And we talked about, you mentioned that just a few minutes ago, as far as like from a talent standpoint. And the guys from Fargo Rate posted as much as well, like just how depth, like as far as quality of player, right? But when I look at this, Mike, the one thing that just really gets me excited and intrigued, and the first thing whenever I first saw this is, I kind of like the no more seeding shit in this style, because we're getting monster matchups from the jump, Mike. From day one.
Yeah, we are, and you can kind of get away with that when you're still giving somebody 2 bullets to get through the first 3 matches.
Right.
So you just have to win twice. But now because of that, you've got, Jason's going to play Shane. One of them's not going to make the last 64.
Who do you got? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. So Shane, we'll get to him in a minute. He loses. I already know. I'm baiting you a little bit. I'm just laying the hook down, okay? In true SVB fashion.
If it was 9 ball right now, I'd take Jason. 10 ball, I'll take Shane.
I don't know that I would take Jason, neither one of them, if I'm being honest with you. If I'm just Shane's been in 2 finals. I know I know Jason was in the semifinals of the Philippine Open. I get it. And I heard it all throughout social media. I understand, but I would still. Shane's one of the few guys where, like, if you just doubt him just a little bit, that motherfucker can get up like nobody's business. He can go
Yeah, no about it. No doubt about
yeah.
it. But yeah, for 10 ball, I'm definitely going.
And I saw it was templates, yeah. And it to me, that match with Ali, which, like I said, we'll get to in a minute, but it was more a credit to like how good that guy is. So I want to ask you more about him in just a moment, Mike.
Yeah.
Sanjin takes out a strong European, Roberto Bartal, 9-3. Sotero, I've never heard of him, but he's a Filipino, so by default, he's got to be like a 750 at least. He takes out Quentin Pongers, Hill. A lot of Hill matches, Mike. Michael Giorgio. Advances, and then Albin Ocean, the 8-ball champion. I'm going to get Albin on this show, Mike, whenever he gets done with this tournament, and especially on the heels of the Mosconi Cup. Mike, I want to ask you though. So, like in terms of the way some of these matches have gone, like I know you mentioned some of the upsets, but like, why do you think that you had so many players trying to get into a 10-ball tournament in Qatar? No thirsty match room, $1,000 buy-in. Like, it's a lot of expense, Mike. Why do you think that these players all kind of got together to go and compete in this event?
Because the Qataris threw $250,000 on top of it.
Oh, $250,000 on top, huh? But help me understand here. Right. So what
look at all the entries.
What's the price?
Look at all the entries. It's about $200,000 in entries between the qualifiers, the final 128. And they got a $450,000 prize fund. You got $100,000 first prize. Yeah, I'm a little heavy.
Money talks. 100 for first, 40 for second. Bader Alawali takes out Wei 9-2. Loho Sum advances Hill. Stepanov, we haven't seen his name in a while. He's advancing. I've been enjoying seeing more of these like former Russian players come back in the mix, because people forget, like, it wasn't just Federer. I mean, they were stacked like 5 guys deep at least. You know what I mean? And they were all young.
Konstantin, Maxim, guys like that. They had some good players.
Ralph Suke advances 9-5 over the young Walter. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. FSR loses.
64.
Yeah. Fran wins the first one against Oliver, loses the second one to Alexa Lazowski. I like that kid Lazowski, not just because his name, but I've seen him play a couple times, Mike. He's pretty stout. But it's so crazy because all the Germans are just, unbelievable talents, even though the kid, goes 2 and out. Robbie moves on. He ended up winning against some, I don't even know where that guy's from, Ali. He ended up beating Conrad in the following round. Some good matches, Mike. A lot of Filipinos. I'm noticing a lot of just big names here, Mike. Carlo amongst others.
Yeah, a lot of Filipinos, a lot of Middle Eastern, which was great to see. A lot of it's a different looking field. All the top players and a lot of landmines in there apparently. When you look down, you see.
Look at Khalid, Mike. Everybody's high on this kid. Khalid goes 2 and out, losing back-to-back Hill matches to, with all due respect, a couple of guys I couldn't point out in the lineup.
Right, 100%.
And Middle Eastern guys for that matter. You know what I mean? So it's not like it in. And again, I mean this with all due respect, but it ain't like losing to like Filipinos or Taiwanese or Chinese. You know what I mean? Like, so, kind of a bit surprising there. Thorsten, having a flashback, 9-8 over Jonas, and then loses to Mohammed Gamal and Mara 9-7. David goes 2 and out, Mike. Loses first to Juan Carlos Exposito. Alvin Maluto takes him down 9-7, a strong Filipino as well.
Yeah.
Wojciech, about as steady as a Polish guy as you can ask for, right? 1-2-ish, somewhere around there.
Niels is into another final 64. The guy's he doesn't quit.
No, and you know what's cool about seeing Niels in particular on here, right? Because he had posted that he wasn't going to go to, what was it, like Hanoi, right? I think it was like last minute. And basically by default, that just knocked him out of Mosconi Cup contention, because the only way he was going to get in was going to be off of points, right? So That was his only swing, and he was right there in the mix. I think he was like 7, 8, somewhere around there. Does not go to Hanoi. It for sure wasn't going to go to the Philippines, but to see him out here competing in this event, which is always cool, and he's like of that old school mentality. He just wants to fight. He just wants to go out there and prove himself over and over again. So kudos to him for making it through to single. Chen takes out a young Casper. Roman Hybrid takes out the former European Open Dang 9-5. He's like why is he the only Chinese guy to come around every like 6 months, Mike? Do you know anything about that? Every year and a half, actually.
Not sure.
What were some other ones that were standing out to you, Mike?
Kyle Alvarado started out right away beating the defending champion, Daniel Maciel, and then he takes down Kachi 9-8. So, that's as good a start as you could hope for, because he'd easy draw. That's for damn sure. So he had to come with it.
I was real high on this kid, Mike, and then he got hit with that cheating scandal or match fixing scandal, and then he just kind of went into like playing these similar type events, like a Jeff DeLuna type. Not that Jeff had anything to do with that, but just like in terms of competing in that same type of circuit. It's great seeing him back out here competing in world events, because to be honest with you, if you would have asked me a year ago, or probably about a year ago, who was out of the young group, right? Out of the young Filipinos, it wouldn't have taken long before I got to Kyle. I mean, I'm high on this kid from a skill standpoint, just like I was a Bernie type of kid, Mike. You know what I mean? Just like what his ceiling is. Beat Daniel, like you said, surprising, Mike. Daniel loses 2 and out after being the defending champion. That's pretty brutal, buddy. He picked up 100,000 last year, so yeah. And then Kachi, like you mentioned, 9-8. Did you see that last rack of Kachi and Kyle?
I did not.
I didn't either, man. I was hoping you did some work around here instead of just me. You know what I mean?
I was looking for it, but I didn't find it.
Federer 9-8 over Aboud, loses to Wu Kun Lin 9-7. I got to sweat some of that one. Marcus Diola loses to Wu Kun Lin 9-4, right above. Wang Ming takes out another Polish guy 9-6. Chua does Chua things 9-5, 9-5, advancing. Mike,
good bounce back for him. He did not have a good Philippines Open. Chua really early. So good to see him come back here and have 2 pretty solid matches.
No, but I think it's just more a testament to, one, how deep the Philippine Open can be, even though there was like 80 no-shows in there. But 2, it's a volatile tournament. Like and he of all people knows like how volatile it really is, because there is so much unknown talent, and with being one of the golden boys, right, comes with expectations and pressure and cameras and all these things. You know what I mean? So like, I get it. You know what I mean? Little Kachi takes out Max Lechner. So he's advancing through. Jeff DeLuna advancing through as well. I want to get to this SVB match, Mike, because this was the one that I was just, it was just calling my name. Let me see if I can scroll down here a little bit. You mentioned AJ. He loses to Simon Kural, another young but Polish guy, another young kid.
Yeah, really good player.
Really, really good player. Yeah. Filler doing filler things. 9-6 over a Filipino. 9-2 over Yukio. I think, wasn't he in the finals of some major recently?
Who's that?
Yukio, the Japanese guy.
Oh yeah.
I could have sworn he was deep in one of these events recently.
Wasn't he a former world champion?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Felix Vogel has advanced. Yeah. He took Mario He to go and qualify.
I like Felix. I'm a huge Felix fan.
Now he's your boy. I asked you the other day if he was better than Moritz like 6 months ago, and then you looked at me like I was crazy.
He is. I don't think he is, but I like the kid. I mean, I spent some time talking to him at the U.S. Open. I thought he was really cool dude.
He looks like a real nice kid. I've never been able to have a conversation with him.
Really good kid.
The pride of Indonesia, Albert Janarta, loses to Snagaki 9-6. He's on the 1-loss side, still battling through. Let's see. Ryan SOOO 9-4, 9-7. So he's through. I like. He kind of. You know what? Felix kind of reminds me of Ryan, just like who he is as a person. Real nice, like coming across real genuine and sincere. Your boy Victor is through, and then
Yeah.
the pride of Vietnam is on the one loss side in Huang. Mike, there's like so many stars that are out, and as we make our way through, Amir taking out Shane in this part of the bracket, Mike, were you surprised by this? Or are you not surprised by this? Give me your thoughts on that matchup, Mike.
Not really. Not really. I mean, we all know, the reputation, and we've seen him play in the World Championship, things like that. The guy's got, serious game. And Shane, he can have a few bumps in the road in the qualifying rounds. But he's usually able to, pull himself together and get out of it. He's gonna have a little tougher road right now. But that wasn't that big a surprise to me. Was it a surprise to you?
Well, sure, yeah, it was, but only because I'm trying to think, because number one, I got a lot of respect for Amir, and like everyone else, once we got to see more of a sample size from him this year, like I gained a lot more respect versus just like just a number on Fargo rate. You know what I mean? And I respect Fargo rate as well, for that matter, just to be on the record about it. But
Right.
like Shane's been known to be great at 10 ball, clearly, right? He is, and that was template 10 ball. It wasn't like it was with a wood rack. So again, that makes a world of difference to me in my mind. But when I saw him play Federer, I saw that 10 ball break that we were so high on for 15 years of Shane was just not around this year. So, and to me, that was kind of a reflection on it. When I woke up, it was like 3-0 in favor of Amir. And this, like, the one who loves the story in me just loves to pick right up where we left off when it comes to Amir, right? Because he's like, that's where we last saw him, was have decent success. And if you look, Mike, we talk about young Russian players as well. He beat Ruslan, as well in the opener. So it wasn't like he's had a cupcake. And Ruslan is very good at breaking 10 ball as well, and a very good rotation player in general. So to have that road to get there and qualify, one, it's great for the region. Two, it's just great for Amir.
Yeah.
It sets up a juicy SVB versus Shaw in the one loss side. And like you, I'm picking Shane. But yeah, I think it's just more, you got to just put more respect on this guy's name. You know what I mean? More than anything.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
yeah,
Yeah, he proved it at the World Championship too. I mean, he made a good, he looked dangerous as hell there.
yeah.
So not surprised. Yeah.
It doesn't
Shane
get
against
much.
Jason could be a great. That's going to be a box office, loser goes home match there. And also FSR and John Mora. That's another really nice, juicy winner go home match coming up tomorrow morning.
A lot of big matches, but yeah, Mike, the Amir one, I love it for the kid. When you beat a name like Shane in your region, right? Like with all the pressure on TV table, everyone's hyping it up, and they wouldn't have done that 2 years ago, you know what I mean, or even a year ago for that matter, like the way it was this year, So
Right.
to go and like live up to the bill like it did, just kudos to Amir, man. That's just about as solid as can be. I
Yeah.
look, I'm not betting on Jason. I'm just not. I know how Shane can kind of get up for it, and I know how Jason can sometimes not get up for it. And so and plus I haven't seen Jason break 10 ball in goddamn, I don't even know how long. Maybe Bigfoot, maybe at Derby. But other than that, I ain't seen him play much. I ain't seen him play much at 10 ball. Dennis Grabe advances as well. I want to put some show some love to Dennis, man, because that dude is just like Kazakis, super consistent, Mike.
Yeah.
Just
He's been that way for years, and now we see him win something last year. We beat Josh in the final, then
yeah,
Kazakis make 2 world championship finals. So we've always known those guys were there. It's just him, being a little more front and center. They're always kind of in that 8 to 12 range in your mindset of the players to watch during. But they're getting the job done.
yeah, and they were kind of the butt of some jokes in terms of like them having success on the WPA circuit without the lack of talent, right? Like that we had seen over the
Yeah.
years. So for
Yeah.
them for them to continue that, but with everybody around, it just they showed their own worth and got some more respect on their names, Alex
They
included. You know
weren't
what I mean?
obviously they weren't there. They were just following the money, you know.
Well,
So
I think it was a combination of just being exhausted of the bullshit, and then of course, you know, financially it makes more sense if you got all like some superstars over there, let them go do that, and we'll still make our living over here. It's all good for them, you know. And so, and I think like they had already been, you know, left out to dry, so to speak, by the matchroom train a time or two in
yeah,
the past before. You know what I mean? So it's like I
yeah.
can't say I can't say I blame them. To their credit, they took that like more quieter, you know, inconspicuous approach where they were just like, you know what, I ain't gonna hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. I'm just gonna go
Well,
and
there's,
just
you
take.
know, if you look at it, there's kind of a group of them, right?
Yeah,
That were
Mario,
kind of
all
like,
of those dudes,
yeah, Mario, Max,
Oliver.
Dennis, Oliver, Alex. They're like, we're not your favorite sons. We get that, so we're just gonna go over and collect this money over here, and it's
Yeah, and kudos to them because, like I said, they're still having success in their own right, even with everyone there. Some Filipinos battling it out. Oliver Villafuerte and Assis on the one loss side. Stefan Casper takes on a gentleman from Taiwan. I'm trying to cruise through here, Mike, and just see what other matchups. Constantine and Janarta, that should be a good matchup as well. You mentioned John and Francisco. Who do you got there in that matchup, Mike? Because I think it's closer than
Fran.
what I would have guessed. You're like, man, you
Yeah,
didn't snap.
I probably if I had to bet money, I'd bet Fran.
What for all you pool betters out there, trust Uncle Mike because he's about as nitty as it gets. So if he's snap calling on Fran,
I'm not nitty. I just don't think it's that it's proper for a journalist to be betting money on matches in pool.
hey, oh now
Always,
Mr.
I'm
Professional,
always
I
willing
like
to
the
bet.
high road.
I'm
I'm just,
always willing to bet dinner or something like that, but I don't,
I
I
know. I'm
don't
just
get
giving you a
on
hard
any
time.
sites. So I'll put 50 on this guy.
Mike, what do you think the chances for Thorsten against AJ in the one loss side to qualify?
Depends on how AJ comes out. I mean, we know what we're going to get out of Thorsten, which is going to be smart choices, good shot making, and not getting flustered. So AJ's not going to beat him with his B game. But if AJ comes out strong, yeah, he's the young, sharp-eyed shooter at this point. You got to go with him. But if he gives Thorsten a window to keep it close late, I like Thorsten.
Thorsten's a grinder in these in
He
10-ball
is. As I
tournaments,
say,
especially.
he's not going to make stupid mistakes. He's not going to make the wrong decision. And if he can keep it close, he's going to make balls. He's going to run out. So if he can keep it close, then you just, a player like that who looks and sees Thorsten in his rearview mirror and just knows he can't shake him, that makes the end of a match tough.
No, I remember man, this is probably 3 years ago now at least when Thorsten beat Chang Jun Lin in the World 10-ball, and this was when Chang was King Kong, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I was there sweating that match. It was like a side table match there at the Rio. And yeah, I mean he still has a lot of gas in the tank and a ton of fucking experience. You know what I mean? So he's not gonna I don't think he's gonna shoot as straight as a kid. But he can
right,
outmove him, So
right.
he can be a little wily in his own right. So Max and Dang, that should be a good matchup on the one loss side as well. Alvin Maluto against Fortunsky, that's a great matchup. Jonas battling or trying to survive as well. I'm just cruising through here, Mike, and just seeing if there's anything else that's kind of popping out at me. Snagaki and Walter, that should be a good matchup too. Uh, I love the depth of this tournament though, Mike. And like I said, I really appreciate the fact that we're getting these monster type matchups so early on, whether it's from
Yeah,
seeding or whatever. I'm thoroughly enjoying this aspect. Now, clearly, I don't appreciate the time difference, So if they could start at midnight over there in Qatar, I would appreciate it, But SVB and Jason, you said you're taking Shane all day, every day, Mike. Is that about right?
and Tempo, yeah, Jason against Shane, you got to go with Shane.
Well, that's about as good a
I mean,
transition.
would it be the biggest upset in the world if Jason won? No, Jason, is as good a player as there is, but this is Shane's backyard, so got over there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen Jay like just have issues when it comes to drawing big names in single elimination, and I was seeing a post from like whatever it was, one of the Vietnamese pages, and they were like talking about player accomplishments for the year or whatever, right? And I came across Jason's, and it was like consistently 32, 32, 32, 16, 32. You know what I mean? And in my head I'm thinking, well, at least he's consistent. But then the other side is like, and this kind of goes back to what we are talking about at the beginning in terms of like how tough the draw is. It's like you really don't face anybody until round of 64 anyway. You know what I mean? Like at worst,
Yeah.
or at best, I should say. So it's
So
like
how many big matches has he won? Is that what you're saying?
that's. I mean, like that's all I'm asking because I know he can get the shit of tough draws.
In the Philippines Open, he looked really good.
He always steps up really big when there's a big crowd, Mike. That you got to give him a lot of love for. Like when
he looked really, really good, and then he, tanked that last ball. I mean, you never saw that coming. Otherwise, in the finals against David, who the hell knows what happens? But I thought he played really, really well. So, I mean, obviously he can do that. He can do it consistently, but just hasn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, he is the ultimate, like, he is a showman amongst like bland players, and Jason lives for crowds and pressure and environments. And even whenever we talked to him last year after Manila, right after they lost like nine, it was over by day 2 or 3 maybe. But anyway,
Yeah.
they made it a run and a little bit at the end of the Reyes Cup last year. But when you talk to Jason, he said the same thing to me. He was like, it's so flat in there, and that's not like what he's used to. So like, it's no surprise to me that the last major he wins is Hanoi, right? You think about Hanoi, major packed environment, real thick with energy, roaring fans, all these things. You think about the Philippines Open, especially in that mall, like there was a lot of people there, Mike. There was like tension and excitement and drama and all these things. And so like that's where he can he can thrive. You know what I mean? So kudos to him on a great run. But what?
No, I think that's great. But I mean, listen, if you're one of the top players in the world, you got to be able to win when everything's not set up like, Christmas dinner for you. So,
well, that's part of the reason why I like Shane in that matchup. I mean, outside of Shane's monster 10 ball break, which we ain't seen in a while, but it's just a lot.
If they put it on a table in the back like that, then yeah, Shane looks even stronger, right?
Yeah, I just don't know. Like Shaw is very consistent to some extent, but then he's also very inconsistent to other aspects. You know what I mean? So, and I think that I think he's one of the players that also rides the fact and is very aware of the fact that like he's very much in Matchroom's favor, and whether it's from a promotion standpoint or whatever, it's like he's very comfortable. Where there's a lot of experience and young players there who are very hungry. You know what I mean? And it's very different whenever you're comfortable versus whenever you're hungry.
If you're on the dole, things are pretty good.
Before we jump into David. Before we jump into AJ, I want to ask, or not AJ, David. I want to ask you about this kid Arseni, Mike, because we talked about him during the U.S. Open. He kind of popped in the radar right before then during that circuit of like Battle of the Bull, Florida Open, U.S. Open. Now he's in his first major final, Mike, or I mean, if you can call it a major, but in the first Matchroom final.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, give me your take on the kid from Finland.
You know what? I got a chance to talk to him after he beat Shane in the U.S. Open, and and he's a really interesting kid. I don't know if he's got if he was born in Russia and transplanted to Finland, whatever, but he's really focused and really matter of fact and really confident. And you saw some of the posts. What I was kind of surprised. I mean, when he beat Shane at the U.S. Open, he was just sprinting around the table driving, right? When he was winning matches in the Philippines Open, he had his hands cupped to his ears. He was egging on the crowd. He was dancing around like he was Jason Shaw II. And that caught me a little bit by surprise. I mean, I know he's confident. He said, they quoted him as saying, the only person I wouldn't want to play in this tournament is me. I mean, that's a pretty good statement. So, he's got big plans for himself. And he looks like he's ready to step up and do it. He doesn't look like he needs a lot of help doing it either. He's he's in it to win it. So I'm disappointed he wasn't here in Qatar, but we'll see him plenty coming up. I'm sure. I mean, he's a talented kid, no fear, fast player, really confident. Moment's not too big for him. He showed that in the Philippines Open. Really excited to see it. Now he'll be he'll be one of the flavors of the spectrum, don't you think?
Well, we're going to talk about flavors of the day. No, he's not. Listen, you don't have a big enough social media following to get to quench their thirsty sports promotion, if you can call it that at this point.
How about when he beat Jason and he took off his little hair braid and he had his hair hanging in front of his face?
Yeah. No, look, this kid.
That was some.
I love his style.
That was some showcase.
The confidence I love too, and his style is so tilting in its own right. Then you mix in the fact that he's pretty much an unknown except for the last 3 months, So nobody wants to lose to the new kid on the block, right? Then if he's got a little bit of flair to him, which he does, that's another one to get in someone's head. And like I mentioned about Jay, right? There's this group of player who's very comfortable playing in the matchroom bubble at this point. You know what I mean? Where they're the group of untouchables. That's the kid to go and shake the cage a little bit and not give a fuck and just go out there and let his game and just embrace the moment and all these things. I love the way they promote, right? But I love pure competition, Mike. And that kid is just he has no business being there whatsoever. He's the only one who will bank on himself, and he's just showing consistency now. It's the sickest thing that I've seen in quite some time. And just based off of or I guess I should say primarily based off of the play on the table, right? Because you show the US Open run, the run in the States prior to, but you go into that environment in the Philippines and especially beating Jason in the final. I know Jason dogged the fucking 9-ball, which I would have never guessed in a million years Jason ever did. But it's a little poetic in a sense because he's got a little bit of Jason in him, it looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah. So could it be the beginning of a passing of a torch, so to speak? You never know. But I like the way this kid plays, and I love his attitude. That quote is just it reminds me of some of my favorite sports figures as a kid, Mike. Where they're just they're ultra confident. They believe in themselves, and he's not saying it to go and make a highlight.
It kind of borderlines on a disrespect for the players in front of you, not disrespect in a bad way, disrespect in a, listen, I got business to do. I know you're a hero, but I'm here, I'm right in front of you. And if I can, I'm going to take your wings off. So, just buckle up. And I like that.
Yeah, no, I fully understand what you mean in that statement, Mike, and that's where you'll see great players. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of players who think they're great and who will say things like that. And then they end up just fizzling out and end up, working at Home Depot at some point. You know what I mean? I get that too. But that kid, when you say that, I kind of think of Shane tapping him on the shoulder, kid, you're supposed to lose here, and he's just
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Okay, sure. I got you.
I'll lose right after I bank this ball. Get out of my way, old man.
He is the real deal. Mike, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the Philippines Open. I don't know where you want to go from here. I want to see more of this kid though. That's number one. But
I want to see more of him. I want to see more of JB.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Well, this is where I want to
if we're gonna talk about flavor of the day, then you got to go JB and AJ and now Arseni And
No, but Arsini is playing pool. He's not like banking on social media.
He's playing his way. He's playing his way in. He's playing his way in. Yeah.
What's your take on that whole Philippines Open and all the social media stuff that was going on there, Mike?
You know what? It is what it is. I mean, everybody say, well, it looks like this guy could play. Listen, nobody said that AJ couldn't play. And I'm glad he did well at the Reyes Cup. But no one's going to tell me that he didn't get the nod because of social media following, which is fine. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, even with JB Suksal. It's Matchroom should do this. They're smart to do this. They're idiots if they don't do it, right? They're trying, the way you grow the sport is to have heroes and people that people want to dial into and people want to watch. And they don't, you're better off if they're 21 right now than if they're 41. So, if you're going to create Emily talks about it all the time with trying to follow the darts format, things like that, and growth. Darts got Luke Littler, which was this 16-year-old kid who looked like he was 35 and selling some insurance.
I need to see some idea of that kid. Yeah.
And he like lifted that sport all by himself. He was already doing okay, but he took it to a whole nother level all by himself. So they're idiots if they don't look for the same people in pool. But we've seen them kind of like take them in and then they disappear. Take them in and then they disappear. Anton Raga, Mohamed SOOO, guys like they come and go. But that's the way you play the game too. Now you have this social media following, you have some flair. We're going to give you a platform. If you keep doing that well, you'll stay on the platform. If you don't, we're going to find someone else with a platform to replace you pretty soon. So I think it's marketing. It's smart. It's what they should do. And the JB, he wasn't even. I don't think that they even knew until the last minute that he was old enough to play in the tournament because he had just turned 16. And so all of a sudden, there were all those openings at the end for the Philippines Open. This guy goes in there.
Oh, fuck, nobody showed up.
The AJ Manis adversary, and all of a sudden this kid's sweeping up all the attention too, wins a couple of really close matches, has a lot of fun. He was entertaining. I liked watching that kid play, probably more than AJ Manis. AJ Manis is just a raw talent. He's got that following and he's got some swagger to him too, but it's a more quiet confidence type thing. I like the JB Sukals. I like the Arsenis, Sebastianovs. I like those guys who are like, yeah, keep the camera on me and I'll give you something to take pictures of.
I get like real conflicted about this shit, Mike, because I understand everything you're saying completely. And you're right. Like, listen, AJ maximized his opportunity. Now, should he
either look at it as a purist, you're looking at it one way. If you look at it as business,
I don't want to sound so like old, you know what I mean? Like, and so, but I'm trying to like just, I'm trying to just like be true here. You know what I mean? To me, and my raw feelings on, listen, while I can understand taking the swing on, taking a swing in terms of pushing him throughout, not for the sake of missing out on like the bread and butters of the world, and the real ones in terms of current accomplishments and current form, because I do feel like they do push players to the backside when it's like, yo, listen, there's going to come a point where like these kids ain't going to be traveling to all over the world, and all these events. So like what you're going to end up with are these European players and Asian players where like, are they going to want to play your game given the fact that like you just toss them to the side, with in a heartbeat,
Well, tell me what toss them to the side means. Can they not play in the open events? Can they not?
No, they can. But listen, there's a whole list of Asian players who were overlooked because of AJ, right? There's a whole list of European players who are now playing WPA events who were overlooked by Matchroom over the years, And so after a certain point, they just say, you know what, we'll go play the game, but we're very aware of the fact that like we're not going to get any of your favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We've talked about this before, and a lot of that goes to, this idea of meritocracy and um, and in these promoter events, right? So, there needs to be more transparency in how they do that. So I'm okay, for Reyes Cup, so I understand. We're the guys ahead of AJ. Yeah, okay. So they're taking a spot and they're we didn't, did we blast Duong when he got picked a year ago?
No.
No, did we question it? It wasn't as big a lightning rod as AJ. I don't know why, because it was the same thing. We're picking Duong because we wanted someone from Vietnam, and he was from Vietnam.
Well, but I think it was twofold for him. One, it was because you want to try to bring in the online presence that it can bring. But the other thing is hoping that you can put more asses in the seats, because you mentioned Luke Littler, right? In the darts. Okay. But like if you look at a darts event, that place is packed, Mike. And don't get me wrong, like AJ is a raw talent, but it didn't turn into an arena full of fucking people like they were hoping for,
So are you saying there should have been Asian players ahead of Duong last year? Or are you saying you understood it?
I get where you're going, and you're making a fair point, and I can't.
It's the same. It's the same with AJ, and I've always listened. That's why you have, and it should be more spelled out. You have merit spots, and you have we're going to play a card spot, right? So if you have the World Pool Masters, if you have the PLP, things like that, it should be in big letters. We're taking the top 13 out of 13 players, and we're going to have 3 spots that we're going to play our own cards on. I'm okay with that. Now you're not going to push aside if you're Mario or Max or anybody like that. You got to finish in the top 13. Just do it. Play your way on. So I understand it, but there should be, to me, more transparency in how you're going to play these games with these kind of events. Now, with the Opens, I don't care who they throw an invitation to. I mean, if it's 128 players or 256 players, I don't care that they invite Barry Hearn and Andy Goldstein. It didn't cost, they're not, 3 Asian players that should have been in there, and damn it, they didn't get their chance. They're 254, 255, and 256.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: if they're forking the bill over to get these guys over there, and I'd imagine that it wasn't free to get them over there. I'm just going on a limb here. Okay?
My money.
Okay, fair enough.
It's my money. It's my game. I'm not gonna. I can play a couple of these cards, and like I said, they can always get away with playing a couple of cards. Always, you should. You're supposed to. You're business people, but let's make sure that it's not always from the hip, winging a prayer stuff, and people don't know until the very last second what what's going on, whether they're going to get on the team or not. That's not right. I don't know why my mic is my mic cutting out.
I don't know, Mike. I'm not sure. We're just going to keep on rolling with it.
I can't cutting out to me hearing you, but
yeah. No, look, I can understand to an extent.
Right, I don't ever say
where this is where like it when you have things like this going to happen, the writing kind of becomes on the wall. And I didn't just like when I guessed AJ getting picked for Mosconi Cup, it wasn't just out of thin air. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I had any heads up on it either, but like it's very obvious the way that they can go and play the game sometimes. But what that does is, and given how thirsty they can be for clicks and likes and all these things, it's like it takes the fun out of sweating the season, right? Because listen, it is the end of October, and I could care less about the Mosconi Cup, Mike. And part of the reason why is because of the process, right? The one that in the process that is currently, right, that the powers that be have put into place there. I don't want this new event to go down the same shithole, like I don't. I want to be able to sweat it, but I can guarantee you, or at least I would be willing to bet a decent amount of money that come next year, you're going to have AJ back on the team and you're going to have Huang back on the team. So now you're only going to have 3 spots. And this is going to turn into Team USA all over again with success, right? But Team USA in terms of like, what's the incentive for these guys traveling, right? If they already know they got their spots locked up. All and for some of these guys who are just going to be the next Jasons or the next Skies or the next whoever, right? Who are just going to be in their favor. What's the incentive? Like they're not if you're not hungry and you're just put on a pedestal without any kind of success or accomplishments. That's the part where you set the overall locker room back. And like whenever I heard Emily mention Luke Littler in terms of AJ, listen, it's I get what he could be, but saying something like that is completely different because at this point, nothing's like he was MVP. He took advantage of a great opportunity, all those things, right? But like he's not saving anybody yet in like the way Luke did that whole fucking sport. You know what I mean? Like, what am I missing here? And so and not just that, but like it's also a little unfair to the kid to put that kind of pressure on him as well. You know what I mean? Without like having done anything really. Like I mean, just nothing in terms of accomplishments outside of what he did out there in the Reyes Cup. So like, and the same thing with any of these guys who like they're just you got a big social media following, boom, you're the next Earl during the US Open. You're the next Earl during the Florida Open, right? But then what happens after that, Mike? It becomes a little cringe. It becomes a little, you know what I mean? And so that's where I get a little have a little bit cause for concern from a lot of aspects. And plus, look, seeing that kid Arsini versus seeing that like riding the coattails of AJ and JB, right? Like, listen, if they're a promotions company, right? Promote the ones who are grinding and who are the splash because like promote the names and personalities within the sport. Don't just piggyback what they did on their own social media to get some extra clicks and likes and follows on your own page because that's what it feels like a lot these days, Mike. And so I watched wrestling as a kid, Mike. I don't want to watch wrestling anymore. I like sports. I like competition. I like, you know what I mean? I like all those things. And so it's taken a lot of the fun out for me. Mike, we talked about the Philippines Open. We haven't even mentioned the winner. David Alcaide is Mr. October, as you dubbed him. He used to be Mr. July because that's whenever he came clutch, but he picked up the Philippines Open in winning 30,000, basically picked up another 40 on top because he's going to beat Team USA here in another month or so, Mike. And so give me your thoughts on David and what he was able to do out there in Manila.
David's like clockwork. Sometime during the year when it looks like he's kind of like slipping back out of the equation, whatever, he's going to make a run at a tournament. He's going to he's going to go to the final. He's going to go to the semifinal. And he did that. And he played he played some really great matches to get there. He did not have an easy road and he played, and he's so comfortable out there at this point in his career. And so, these are the moments that I live for type of thing. And they're not too big. And when he says, people always say, I want to go out there and just enjoy the moment and not put too much pressure on himself. He lives that. The other guys say it and they get out there and they're like, they're all over the place. But when David says it, you buy in, you watch him. You're like, yeah, this guy is he's out there. He's going to make all the right decisions. He's going to play all the smart safeties. He's going to show his experience, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, he's going to make you work to beat him. And he's got the ability to win an event. And he went out and did that. I mean, good for him. He, and like you said, added another 40,000 to it. It was a $75,000 swing win at the end of the tournament. Because going into the Reyes Cup and going into the Philippines Open, he was really not, he was probably 2 or 3 down from that last spot.
It was win or bust for David,
it was win or bust for a couple of those guys, and he's the one who came through. So
but that's like
the guys who were ahead.
Look, that's just what he does, And there were times, especially like years ago, and I was real hard on David, and me and him had a real genuine conversation about how he took my take on that whole shit years ago. And then he followed that up with a strong performance in Vegas. And I'll never forget, and this is one of the coolest things. I just love like special moments in sports. But whenever he was like, this is where I do the talking, tapping on the table,
Yeah.
And like, if I think about him, that's him, he is right. Like that is who David is. You know what I mean? Like he may end up being in that 6 or 5 through 11 kind of range consistently. But like when it's time, David just goes and plays, man, and goes out there and just fucking takes it. He doesn't he'll indulge the social media aspect parts of it and play the fucking game with matching and all these things. But like he's very aware of the fact that at least I would imagine anyway, he's very aware of the fact that like he's gonna be one of the first men out. And so in order for him to be the last guy in, which he's been over the last couple of years, it's come off of strong performances, not off of like social media, So that part I got the world of respect for. Winning in a final in that type of environment against that kid who like is the second coming of Shaw is great for him, and it was dominating and overwhelming and exactly what I expect from a guy with experience, And so kudos.
Yes.
What's up? Yeah.
Where does his resume sit right now as a Hall of Fame potential?
That's an interesting question. I think, look, I get what the qualification ought to be in terms of world championships, right? But like, me and Mike, I'll go against the grain in a lot of things, and one of them is just the old eye test, and making European teams is a difficult thing to do, and coming clutch, facing the shit that he faced, like I'll weigh that into consideration as well. A win like this for me, it's not just him snapping off a major in October, right? It's not winning the UK Open where it becomes an afterthought. No, sorry Mickey, or sorry Robbie, or sorry Josh, or whoever else has won it, right? Because it can be an afterthought. For David, there was so much more along with that. So like I value what the moment was for him, and so for what he was able to achieve, I'm putting a lot more weight on like do I consider the Philippines Open a major? Probably not. But in terms of what it meant to David's career and in the overall, yeah, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And sure, I would go and put him in the Hall of Fame, because in these, you brought it to me years ago, whenever we had the debate about Fran, like you got to show me consistency, right? And getting in all these finals and winning world championships in a short time frame, what enough? But if you think back on when David first got on the European team versus him still getting on the European team, when all we talk about is how young the sport is and all these things, and there's David still hanging around, still fucking making teams. And these were like in years where we thought about, is this the greatest European team ever assembled? Like these type of conversations, Mike, and David is always in that conversation, and he always has to get there the hard way, or I guess, if Josh pisses off Emily too, you know what I mean? Then he kind of gets bumped up to the front. So, but I would say yes. So that's just me. But on the note of the major aspect of it, Mike, I want to ask, or how about this? How about you answer? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Because you're the one, you're the man in the Hall of Fame jacket yourself.
Yeah. Well, that makes it harder for me to ever talk about anybody I don't think deserves to be in, because I don't think I deserve to be in. But it's like I don't know. I'm a couple of years ago I said not a chance. I'm a little I don't know. It's a really tough career to look at. Because to me, Hall of Fame is about titles in big pro events, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking, we'll throw in a couple of Whirlpool Masters. Okay, that's kind of the B class for me. The A class wins.
U.S. Open, World Championships. I get it. Yeah.
I have 2. Well, not even U.S. Open, World Championship. Just it could be to Europe, but if you won 3 European Opens, 2 UK Opens, the U.S. Open, what you got left? If I'm looking at David's career in these big events, I see 2 wins, and he's in his 40s.
Well,
that's an awful long time.
He's got the UK Open, the Philippine Open, right? He's got he's got a few Mosconi Cup victories as well with a high percentage.
Mosconi Cup to me, that's C. You know, if I put weight of titles into categories, A is big open international tournaments.
Okay, well, look,
B
let me take.
is Whirlpool Masters, Mosconi Cups, things like that. Well, I mean, not even Mosconi Cups. Mosconi Cups to me would be in the C funnel. You're on a team with 5 guys. You play 3 times to race it to 5. That's not kind of, to me, determine your career. So I don't know. It's a tough one with me. I think he's an amazing player. If I look at the list and the resume, given how long he's played, I'm not sure I see it right now. But that's everybody looks at it in different ways.
I get what you're saying. I can't argue with, like, numbers don't lie to some extent, right? And I completely get
Right.
that. But I can tell you where my vote's going to be when it's time for David to be on a ballot. That for sure I will say, and so maybe it's just like the eye test aspect of it, getting too like emotionally invested in the story side of it. But I get like the brass tacks of it all. You know what I mean? And so you mentioned the Mosconi Cup, Mike. You might be the only one mentioning the Mosconi Cup, or social media might be the only one mentioning the Mosconi Cup, because I haven't heard any Mosconi Cup announcements, even though a lot of players have qualified. A lot of players are already in. What is the deal with, like, I know that they're tired from all the JB SOOO posts and AJ Manis not being able to make the team for USA, but like, what is going on with these lack of posts, Mike? I mean, what is with?
Yeah,
I thought
honestly,
this was the crown jewel. I thought this was a Super Bowl of our sport, Mike. And this year, it does not feel anything like it at all.
yeah, no, it's how deep into the year all this has been dragged with no discernible information. And so you've got theoretically automatic bids, automatic spots for
Now,
both
we don't know if
teams
they're in or not.
secured, and none of them have been announced. Have they made a formal announcement on Pius? Have they made a formal announcement? I mean, forget Josh. I'm just talking about guys who are in good favor who have made it on points. Why do we not have any announcements? I mean, the build up to this is, we're like 5-6 weeks out. This used to be a 12-month process and talked about for 12 months, and you knew exactly what you were scoreboard watching for 12 months and whatever. And then we saw him move the goalposts for the picking of the Reyes Cup teams, and no information on the teams. David gets announced in a post-match interview. It's just weird to me. Really freaking weird. Really weird.
This is where, like, I get further fired up from those decisions, because and I'm just gonna, just for a second, just talk about Pius for a minute, right? Like, you got to imagine that's what you've dreamt of your entire life, right? Because, like, it was held in that highest standard, right? To go and win a major and to go and make a Mosconi Cup, right? But you'll turn the camera on for telling Double J, or having Double J go and tell Sky, even though he knew a month prior that he made the rest of the world team, but you won't fucking make a post when the kid automatically goes and qualifies, or get a real reaction to say, hey, listen, you made it in based off of merit. Congratulations. And that raw emotion, this is where I feel like you rob players of what should be what is something so important to, and why a lot of these kids started playing pool in the first place, Mike.
Yeah, no, I feel really bad. I feel really bad for Pius that he hasn't gotten that moment that,
Yeah. But you'll go and make 86 fucking posts about JB SOOO, but you won't give that kid any fucking love for finally earning
or announcing, or the whole announcement for Reyes Cup. That was a big, video moment. Things like that. Pius doesn't have the traffic that Juan does. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, it's a shame that stuff like that's not out there, that's not made. Meanwhile, Jason puts out a post leaving the Philippines saying, taking the team, I upgraded the team on our way to Qatar, and it's Moritz, and it's Pius, and it's David Alcaide. Well, he said who the team is. Why can't Antrim say who the team is?
Yeah. I don't. It's moves like that are what take the spirit out of wanting to go and play in your events. Moves like that is really disrespectful to kids like Moritz, and there's a lot of them. I mean, not Moritz, Pius, right? There's a lot of them that are like that, and there's a lot of them who were already saying, you know what, like we're not gonna go and indulge the fucking circus anymore, you know. And it doesn't have to. And to me, it doesn't have to be that way. It is that way, and it's almost like shame on you for turning it into that. And on the note of that question down there, Mike, like for one, I mean, number one, it's shitty for PS. And we don't even know if Josh is getting in, if Shane's getting in, even though they're automatics, right? But like, I cannot think of a year, and this is like I think now USA's won what 3 out of the last 18 years, something like that. You know, like it's been dry for a long time and it's just decayed in my opinion. But anyway, like even despite the fact that like they were getting their asses whooped every year, I was still a glutton for punishment and excited for the Mosconi Cup every
Yeah.
year. And you know what? And
Every
then I realized like maybe a month ago or 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, that it was just like, man, I don't feel the same way about it, Mike. I don't like
Yeah.
it has turned into like it has turned into whoever is playing their game and the same recycled storyline that I don't know if it's just ego thinking that like everyone's just going to show up because we're doing it, you know, or like they have every single year, but like and look, and I know I can be passionate and can be an asshole about certain things, right? But like I have friends who are also a lot of friends who are passionate pool fans, right? Like they are the ones who will buy the WNT subscription, who will go and buy.
Yeah, they're demographic.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right, right. And the ones who have spent money to go to events, and even like in private conversations that I've had with them, and this is like them initiating with me, right? Where they're like, I'm indifferent about it, you know. Like, sure, I'll watch whenever it's time, but like I know for sure. Listen, I know for sure I'm not changing around my week's worth of vacation to go fly out there to go see another fucking drubbing of the same fucking team, and the way that they're cherry picking these players and completely throwing out rankings and everything else, you know, for what? I mean, really, for what? You know, and the way you go and treat players at the same time just leaves a real bitter taste in my mouth, you know. And while I can appreciate the marketing side of things and the promotional side of things, not for the sake of forgetting about fucking competition, Mike. You know, not for the sake of forgetting about sports and the guys who will go out there and fucking bleed for you, you know. And so I don't know if they just look the other way on things or they just think their shit doesn't stink or what, but like I am really disappointed the way that this year's Mosconi Cup build up or lack thereof has happened. We knew Jason and Sky were fucking team captains whenever they did that golf promo 6 months ago. You know what I mean? And their energy has been so focused on so many different things that I can understand to some extent, but then it's like, yo, you're missing the boat. And how do you not realize like you're missing, like I get wanting to grow, but not for the sake of burning the ones who are spending money with you, because the demographic, the diehards who are there, like the ones who are already here, like there's so a lot of fans are just left with this ugly fucking taste in their mouth with everything, you know? And so, and it kind of goes to like a bigger point, like if Filler and Shane don't get in, there's already no PL. I mean, there's already no World Cup of Pool, no World Pool Masters. You know, they're changing the game in the last minute. What's the point of the rankings at this point, Mike, in your opinion?
Not a lot, really. I mean, you know, they have to get back to trying to make the rankings mean something. They don't mean anything.
Nothing. They don't mean a fucking thing.
Really
Nothing.
don't.
No, they don't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything in terms of what you'll get. Like, from,
although it means, you know, it means at least enough to the point where Pius is on the team. Okay, because with the rankings, Pius is not on the team, right? So, which would be criminal. So there's a little bit of, you know, there's value, but they've they've lost the plot on what they originally said they were building when they started the WNT. Okay, that was very defined. It was very
professional.
I had tons of optimism. It was very like, okay, this is what we're going to have all these open events, and you're going to earn these points, and these points are going to get you into this event and this event and this event. And they kind of still do, but we're going to kind of change the rules as we go along, and whatever we feel like doing. So you really don't know what you have to do, but just keep coming to the tournaments and win a lot of points. You'll get something for it, some nice parting gifts or something. But yeah, no, it's gotten rid. This has really been a bad year, and this was their bread and butter, Mosconi. This is what everything else was based off of, and that was what Reyes is supposed to be based off of going forward is this aspirational thing. You talk to every European kid who came up playing in the last 10, 15 years was like, I want to make Mosconi. You want to keep it to that. Now, I don't think that. I mean, they probably still think they want to make Mosconi Cup, but I don't think they're making their money decisions based on it.
Yeah, no, they would have.
They know they could win 5 events and get left behind if
they would have, like, the real ones would have fucking bled out to make that team, just to make that team and to go and compete, and at a certain point it shifted, and as a whole, like, I don't know if it's just a bunch of yes men or what, Mike, but goddamn, like, this was the one thing that, like, year in and year out, I would look forward to, no matter how pathetic it really was from a score line year in and year out.
Score never mattered. I mean, I argued that every year when they said, "Oh, we got to change this. USA stinks." I said, "Yeah, change it when people stop coming, because they won't." But now, not 100%. In fact, we've not heard a thing about ticket sales. We haven't heard a thing about anything Mosconi, but I haven't heard anything all year about ticket sales for Mosconi Cup in London. And usually,
there's a lot of years they were sold out by July.
Yeah, so I'm going to be really interested to see what the gate looks like this year. Really interested.
I am too. Because that's what I'm afraid of, and I just, for everything that you build, when you undermine it, it takes so long, I feel like, to build it back in from the player's standpoint.
It's so easy to tear it down.
And look, and I know pool players are mercenaries and they'll chase the dollar. I know all those things, Mike. I get all that, but, like, don't lose the fans because you think that the moves you're making are just too good for it, because I'm scared to see what that arena is going to go and look like, because as a fan who loves pool, I mean, like, lives, breathes, eats it, I can remember, Mike, before we even started doing any of this shit, man, years, 10, 50, how old am I now? 39. So, like, 19, 20 years ago, right? When I'm at home sweating the internet, like, watching pool and China Opens and all these things online. And I can remember thinking about the WPBA and the Gai Young Kims and Zhao Ting Pan and all these girls playing in Oklahoma, right? And Mosconi Cup was, like, so far away for me. Like, I couldn't even imagine that, But Oklahoma was close enough to me. But, like, I would think about, man, one day I want to go and see these things, I want to go and see these professional events. I want to go see these great players, And there's certain events that I still have that thing for, and that'll always be in my heart, because of just loving pool and loving sports. But, like, Mosconi Cup always transcended everything. Like, it always got through everything, And this year it's completely different for me than it ever has been. And it's a shame because, and I think a part of it's because of the decisions from them. I think a part of it's from the players who are playing their game along with it, because and I know they're getting money and all these things. I get all that, but it's like, man, you got to have a certain level of like, personal pride and accountability to say, what is it that I want to, like, stand for? You know what I mean? Or represent. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of leads me to our next question, Mike. And it's, what do you think? Because, listen, I don't know if Filler's going to be on there. That's the only thing that'll change whether or not somebody else different makes a team. I guess the same thing goes for for SVB as well. Same team for Team USA this year, or you think Lucas is getting the nod?
Well, I went public, halfway
did.
through the Philippine Open that I said it was going to be the same team as last year, and I still believe it will be. I know there's been a big groundswell of support in the last week for Lucas. I know no decision, at least announced, whether or not they've been made. I can't say with any certainty, but I fully expect it to be the same team for a number of reasons. I think Billy being Sky's boy is a big part of it, and rationalization coming with Billy finishing 8th at Perry Open. Okay, Lucas did not have a great trip to Asia. Okay, whatever.
Right.
And also, if you're an easy rationalization is, we've got Europe with 2 rookies. This is our best chance to go in there with, without a rookie and try to shake a little bit. Okay, that's a good rationalization. You can rationalize your decisions any way you want. I think it's going to be the same team. And I feel bad for Lucas because he did go spend a lot of money and go to all those events and you know what? Maybe he should.
So has Shane McMahon. So has Corey Deuel. So has Oscar Dominguez. So has all these guys who don't want to go out and travel anymore because they got the shit into that steak year in and year out, Mike. So I have a lot of them.
Well, here's the other side of that is
they're not buddy with Sky either.
Lucas went to all these events. If he's one of the top 3 U.S. players, you would have thought he would have finished with a little more points. But, he's still a young kid trying to find his way into it, whatever. My question would be, if you're Lucas and you look at all the effort you put into it last week, you passed over for Billy, do you bother doing that next year?
You sure the fuck don't. Nope. Just like I can name a long list of other players who don't either, because that's the process that Matchroom has turned this shit into, where it's, and that it further sets not just Team USA, but we need all the help that we can get, let's just be honest. And so I understand everything you're saying in terms of rationalization, but it's a 2-man race. It's Lucas or Billy. It's Lucas or Billy. And that's it. I saw comments about Oscar. Listen, I love him. He's my guy. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But he hasn't traveled enough, and I wish he would have parlayed his U.S. Open performance and gone to Asia and then go and spoil their fucking party. That's what I wish he would have done, and that's what I told him But
who's that?
Oscar, because Oscar had a good run at the U.S. Open. But yeah, I mean, you can't beat the buddy system in my opinion. Like Justin Hall says, risk for reward is not there, hasn't been for years, and that's with a USA team that's that doesn't have success in terms of majors, Mike. By you adding Federer on the team, boom, there's one spot gone. SVB takes up another automatic, whether it's captains or otherwise, that's gone, right? Sky being a captain's pick, that's gone, right? Then you throw in the fact that Billy's his best friend, that's gone, right? So you're playing for one fucking spot? Really? One fucking spot. That's what you've turned it into, and that's why players like a Justin Hall with a ton of fucking talent are disincentivized to go out there and compete. It doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Okay, here's where I'll argue with you on that point. Okay, so you're saying nobody in America has enough talent to get more points during the course of a year than Tyler. Okay, now we got to be better than that. The hell,
we do. But we ain't never going to get better than that when all the experience.
If you look at Europe in recent years, you'd almost say the same thing. Well, Filler, Jason, you're playing for one spot. You know what? Moritz went out and took that fucking spot.
Amen.
So you put up, and you just can't show up and say, "Well, I went to all the events. I should get in." No, you got to go to all the events, and you got to make a difference. You got to make an impact.
Look,
okay. So there's got to be some of that in there too.
Look, I agree with you, Mike. I do, and I've said this for years that rookies got to go and earn their way, right? And so for all these American fans, with high hopes and being disillusioned and all these things of they're going to go and win because there's 2 rookies. Guess what? They're 2 rookies because they've been playing better than the rest of the team. You know,
Yeah,
so like good luck with that one.
Don't worry.
Yeah, good luck with that. You know,
Yeah,
so
both of those rookies can't bury anybody
yeah,
we got.
yeah, and especially if it's not as hostile as I think it won't be. You know, but look, I feel bad for Lucas, but at the same time, because I do think he's going to get the shit into the stick this year. I feel bad for him. But listen, this is what you signed up for, and you knew how shit was. And if you thought you were going to go and fade the buddy team, you know you weren't. And even if they put Lucas on, great. And at least it at least gives some kind of spirit to the process, kind of, but not really still. You know, because I think a lot of players show, and even from the captain, their lack of travel this year shows how comfortable that they were in that position. Tyler not.
We talked about this with Johan. Get rid of the freaking playing captain.
Yeah, I know.
That's taking a spot.
But
that's taking a spot away.
But nobody wants to give up that money. The ones who are getting that money don't want to give up that money. You know, and that's what it boils down to. And this is where, like, I'll say, like, in terms of players collecting checks, and I'll play your game because I'm in their good graces and all these things. I get it. You know, but like with that comes the scrutiny of not performing as well, you know? And so when you start looking at numbers and successes and all these years, and I seen Billy's post talking about his, if I traveled this year, I'd be in the top 5. What difference does the top 5 make? Top 5 didn't fucking matter last year. You mentioned signature wins throughout the year. Signature wins didn't matter last year when I was nut hugging fucking Oscar, right? But this year, all of a sudden, but this year it matters. Right, when you want to make a case, this is the part that, like, and I get wanting to win over public favor and all these things, Mike, but like if you go in there with the same team, what little hope you maybe you had because you're just a glutton for punishment is just out the door, in my opinion. And I get you can go and bounce on rookies and get in their head a little bit, but there's still far more talent on that European team than there will be on that American team, And so I hope from a storyline standpoint that they bring Lucas in. At the same time, Lucas hasn't earned his way on there either. So for that standpoint, I would probably say, I would probably take Billy just because recent form and because he's not going to get rattled, and what he will bring in terms of energy could go and rattle the Europeans. Now, I'm not saying that it will, but it could, as far as him getting everyone fired up.
It depends on which energy. Billy is one of those. I thought Johan knew how to harness Billy, how to make him intense, how to keep him keep that upside, but also have him nailed focused. Okay. The Billy we saw last year, he won a point, whatever, but that was on tilt. That was like, okay, he brings energy. No, energy is not standing around shooting smoke off in the middle of an arena. Okay, that's not energy. That's Marcus wearing a Napoleon hat. So, can this team do well if it's the same team as last year? Yeah, if they have the really right focus, if they have the really right intensity, if they're hating the guys across the table from them, if they take that kind of approach, then maybe they can do some good. But don't go in with the clown show that we did last year, please.
I would listen. You talk about focus, right? I would rather have a player captain like Tyler than I would have a player captain like Sky, because Tyler is a no bullshit kind of guy either, and Tyler is, and he don't mind making enemies on the team because of his
people still got to listen to you. People still got to listen to you if you're barking orders. That's why I think it should not be a player. It should not be a player, period.
But Mike, what difference does it make if there's another Muppet if they don't have the power to make a decision anyway? Because even if you were to go in there, you wouldn't be able to make a hard decision on a player no matter what, because that Matchroom values them more than the next guy up. Well,
are you good enough to go in there? The thing to me is not which players you pick, it's what you do with them, with the ones you bring in. So if they got saddled with somebody they didn't really want, so if they're really good captain, they're still going to get 5 guys ready to play. dialed in, focused, ready to play. That's what the value would be. So even if they're a little handcuffed on the fifth pick, play the hand you're dealt and go in there and kick some ass, whatever you got to do. So I just think that the player captain's a horseshit. But
look, we've been on the show way too fucking long, Mike. I don't know what we're thinking going an hour and a half. I'm gonna get you out of here on this, Mike. I'm gonna get you out of here on this. Who should be the fifth pick of Team USA, and who will be the fifth pick of Team USA?
It will be Billy.
I think it should be Billy, and I think it, and I think it will be Billy.
I can rationalize either.
Yeah, look. I get if I think about going in there with the same team versus what the comparison is to what Billy brings, and that's the only two options, right? That's the only two options on the table. Like Lucas just hasn't done enough, and it sucks for him, whatever. And I get all that, and it's and who knows, and people are going to have their.
Do you see the outcome being any different with one or the other?
You mean from what? Like just from the actual score itself?
Yeah.
No, I think it's about even money.
Okay. Then why wouldn't you let this kid learn how to get into that arena?
Because you haven't earned it yet. That's why. That's what I would say. You haven't earned it yet. Because as weak and
had Billy earned it the first year he got on?
Fuck no. No, I can't say that. I don't know about the first year. I'm talking about the last
year. Had Tyler earned it the first year he got on? No.
That's a fair
comparison. So you take your chance and you build your monsters as you go along.
Well, but that's where you had a coach who wasn't afraid to take a risk and be the bad guy versus a captain who wants to give his buddy an extra $20,000.
That's what I'm talking about. There should be captains, not coaches, not player captains.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would love to see a fresh face in there, but like if you said all the emotional shit or whatever, passion aside, right, and you just think about and I guess it depends on which lens, right? Because if I'm looking through it from a long-term lens, honest to God, Mike, if I'm looking through it from like a long-term, build it up, it's already gotten about as bad as it could be. I tell you what, I'm starting with Federer, and a couple months ago I was going to say Federer, Sky, and Shane. Now I'll probably just say I'm just sticking with Federer, and I'm getting rid of everybody else. I'd bring in a whole bunch of kids, and let them learn from a guy who goes and works really hard in Federer, and has got good work ethic, and I might bring in some really young kids to go and play out there, because what's the worst that can happen? Can they lose 11-3? Yeah.
Well, no, but we saw this. That's what Mark Wilson did years ago, and that didn't pan out so well. But I understood what he was trying to do. It was kind of a total retool. Justin Hall, Justin Birdman, guys like that. It was so.
Listen, if you're gonna go and collect money, right, and not show up, then like any other sports, Mike, if you didn't do a great job, we'll see you. And it sucks whenever the Patriots got rid of Tom Brady or the Packers got rid of Aaron Rodgers or whatever, like insert a fucking quarterback or Jordan going to the Wizards, whatever, Mike. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you got to go in transition, right? Like Myrtle Beach says, bring Hayden Ernst. That's a kid I would throw in there. Let him go and swim, and he may go and sink, but it'll serve him better. It'll serve Team USA better in the long run. Honest to God, Mike, I really would. And because here's the deal. Nobody has stepped up to the plate like the way they should. None of them, And so when you look at, and later on, whenever all these teams get announced, I want to go over like just player records over the last 5 years, because we did a little bit of that. We talked about the Reyes Cup, and I want to do the same thing for Mosconi Cup, because all this talk about, Shane plays like shit and Sky plays better. Guess what? They got the same fucking record over the last 5 years, So if you're going to say Shane plays bad, and historically he does, well, then you better say that same thing about Sky as well over the last 5 years, And so I get wanting to hang your hat on something that was a long time ago, but it's just that, Mike. It was just a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's done a good job there, and even Federer for that matter, because his Mosconi Cup record is terrible either. But there ain't no way I'm keeping him.
No, he's getting close to a sudden getting that, you know, Shane stigma if he doesn't turn it around in one of these Mosconi Cups.
Well, fuck, we said last year that the year prior was just a blip. You know, that was just he's not going to.
It was perfect. I thought that was the perfect get his feet wet type thing in London. Now come to the U.S. and kick ass, and didn't quite work out that way. So we'll see.
I want guys who are hungry, you know, and there's a lot of guys who got their bellies full right now, you know, and they've had it full for a long time. So call me crazy, but like I said, I got no interest in going, and I'm gonna watch from home. USA get their ass whooped, but other than that, I wouldn't go and spend the money to go see that same shit show like I have seen, you know, because something's got to give, you know, something's really, really, really got to give. So, anyhow, Mike, I don't know. This might be the longest show in history, Mike. I've never gone an hour and 36 minutes. So, we got big plans for the rest of the week. I'm going to try to bring in more players. I'm going to bring on JR Velasco as well from the Mar Boys. He's got a pretty passionate and an interesting take on everything going on recently as well. So, you guys go and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Mike, I got to run, but I will see all you guys and girls a little later.